Well, the Canopy's in primer, and we're almost to the point where I can pull the tape off. About one or two more sand outs. And it'll look like it's molded in there. I'll go ahead and let the camera run for a little bit while I sand this, and then we'll shoot some primer on it. Can you see what I'm doing here? Remember, if you can see it in primer, you'll be able to see it in paint. No doubt about it. But you want it to be absolutely perfect in primer. And even that is no guarantee that it won't show up in the paint. So this is 320 I'm sanding with here. I'll hit it with 600 and then hit it with a coat of primer. We might get some white on this today if the humidity stays down. Okay. You can see a slight shadow right here, and for that to be perfect, that shadow has to be gone. Got off the phone with Tom Morris. He said he watched all my Monado videos. He's never seen anybody sand like I do. Sander of airplane. Pretty good. That shadow went away. Go just up around here, and we'll hit it with 600. 600 here. I'm gonna shoot some more primer on it, and then we'll call that good. Took 5 sand outs. Frame coat of primer too. Then we can seal the tape up and have to re-tape that again. What happens if you leave the tape on after priming and painting and all that, it builds a real thickness up. Tends to crack when you taper down. Well, let's see how it looks. I'll wipe it with a little Windex. That pulls off all the sanding dust. And this particular model, if I don't like it after I paint it, I'll sand it again because we're in no big rush. There's a spot there I don't like. So, DC 540, light coat. Let's see how it looks. Take a couple of coats. I'm happy with that. There's a low spot right there. We're going to hit it with some putty. Low spot right there. I would never sand that out, so I'm gonna hit it with putty. Anyway, you get the idea. started out sitting on there, and now it looks like it's molded in. So I'll cut the camera, and we'll be back in a short. Okay, we're going to talk about what happened here now. I got some stuff on this, so I sanded the clear glass. That's not a problem because this is all going to get cleared and that'll turn crystal clear again. But I got a low spot right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that nitrous stain that I told you about. That's that 3M product you can't use much of. And a razor blade. Got some out on the magazine. Razor blade. And we're going to trowel it in there. On the glass. I should have taped it off again first. Little spot right here. So now we'll wait for that to dry. I'll take this off one more time and sand that out. Shoot a bit of primer on that spot right there, sand it out, and then we're going to paint the purple on it again because I sanded through the primer in a couple spots on the window frame. So we have to bring that back. But I'm kind of going around making sure that the window frame is clear from obstructions and glue, and because you get glue from the tape. So I just take a paper towel, well, I'll be honest with you, how this happened is I had sit down. I have this tape, and this tape, and this was open. And I got some of that nitrous stain on that glass, and that just, it has lacquer thinner in it, and that just ate the plastic up. So I sanded it out, and when I urethane the nose, the canopy will get urethane and that'll go away. That'll all be sealed inside there. So it's one more tape job on the canopy. We're real close to painting today. We will get the white on it today. And that's here and the underside, because it's at here and here and the underside, because the underside is yellow. We definitely don't, we want a light base to paint yellow on, because yellow doesn't cover at all. I have to go to the hobby shop and get some poster board because we're going to cut some stencils for the leading edge so that both sides are 100% symmetrical. And this one I'm doing a little different. It's the back method because of the dark colors, and I don't want to put any more paint on it than I have to. Still relatively light. Got to keep it that way by keeping the paint off of it. I'll probably paint the tail white too because it's gonna get this light green. Let's see if I can find that paint. I had that mixed up. I had two of those. I'll wait with this one. Kind of wish it was a little brighter yellow, but or green. There's the green. I might add some more yellow to it to make it brighter. Or some orange maybe. I got a lot of paint here. I'm going to have to go over to the auto parts store and get some paint cans for mixing, so we'll be back after I do that. Then I want to talk a little bit about what's going on now. Now I had sanded through the frame, so I repainted the purple around the canopy. And as I've got this paint on here now instead of the primer, I see a few spots in it. And before I go any farther, I will take some 600 and glue it to my finger and some Windex and sand out those little imperfections. Normally I wouldn't do it that way. I would just go ahead and finish the airplane and shoot the urethane on the nose, and it's going over the top of the canopy. And that'll hide those. But I want this model to be special, so I'll be doing that. I took it outside. I kind of have to wait for this paint to harden up now because it's fairly fresh. Very humid today, so it has no shine at all. But it sure covers good. So it should be light. I also see a spot in the transition right here. We'll be sanding those out. So the next, after I get these sanded out, the next course of action, you know, this is enough of the purple on here to get it done, even though I'm going to sand this out. I'm going to shoot the leading edge white. I'm going to shoot the flaps and trailing edge white, and the bottom white, and the tail white. Very light dusting. I just want to make it white. I don't want it refrigerator white. And then I'll tape off my back mask, my areas for the checkerboard that's going on the leading edge, and then back mask where the yellow is going to be. Probably would be better just to go ahead and shoot the yellow without back masking, then back mask the yellow. That's what I'll do, because the purple goes out this way in the middle, yellow on the back. On the bottom, what I had in mind was I was going to go around this way to the center of the leading edge with black checkerboards, and because the bottom is going to be yellow, I will go on the bottom with red checkerboards. Now the tail gets this light lime green that I mixed up. Now I went to the paint store when I got the cans today, and I asked the guy there what I could do to make it brighter because it wasn't bright enough. And I mixed up another go-round of paint, and we have this color here. It's a lot brighter, more yellow. The other color was more of a military, a drab green. And then, of course, the yellow. So, it's going to be a very complicated paint job, and I don't want to screw it up. So, it's going to be moving slow from here on out. Paint, weight, back mask, sand, whatever I have to do. I have enough purple paint here to paint the whole airplane purple. It covers so good it's ridiculous. But if I did that, then I would have to paint the white over the top of that, and that would be impossible to cover. So, back mask. So we'll see you in a bit.
South, that'd be filling, maybe even Salt Lake, not to mention.
Well, here it is in its white base. It took, I took this can here and I poured this much white in it and the rest thinner, and I still have an inch in the bottom, so it took less than a half a pint to paint the white base on it. Tomorrow I will get some poster board to make the templates. It will get back masked. This will remain white, and then we'll back mask the back part here. This gets painted yellow, and then a white and yellow stripe go down this way and open up about like a band around here, like so. White inside, yellow outside, with black checkerboards in it, and the tail is lime green. Of course, then there'll be some green stripes going here to tie it all together. Probably a green stripe behind the white. Now, there's some spots on it that have some issues that I'm going to need to address. Canopy. People come up. I better retape the canopy at least right here, because it looks like it's bleeding under there. Of course, I can always sand it off, and we're going to clear the canopy anyway. Anyway, so because this is fresh paint, I mean it's a few hours old, it's not hard enough to sand yet. It'll get a light sanding with 1000 grit over the whole airplane. And there's a little spot here that needs to be fixed, and a spot on the wingtip out here that needs to be fixed. Normally I wouldn't fix them. I would just hide it with paint, part of the paint scheme. But seeing that what I want to do with this airplane this year, I'm going to go ahead and fix it. I had something happen on this airplane I never had happen before. I don't understand why it happened. It looks like there's some bad thread in the polish band, some bad fiber. And of course it happened on the top. And we'll see what it looks like tomorrow, but it looks like it's split. It's a very small spot. But right here. I think what's going to happen is it's going to get a silk span patch right here, about 1 inch in diameter. I don't understand what happened there. It's just a small split. Oh, I see a spot in the fillet here that needs to be fixed, so we're going to have to sand that tomorrow. Sander of airplane. Yeah, that's not a big deal. That's part of the purple anyway. So there's not much paint on it. It gained 1 ounce. All this color was 1 ounce in weight. I'll go ahead and post this up. And the whole airplane, like I say, is going to get sanded with 1000 grit. And then recoated with whatever color. I'll stay off the leading edge because that's going to remain white. But all these places back here are going to be shot yellow, so we might as well make them as absolutely slick as possible. It's kind of humid here right now, so the paint's not really drying real well. I'll have to sand that some more. But there's going to be a whole lot more sanding on this one. But it's coming out real nice. Now it's just a matter of detail sanding and taking my time to make sure I fix all the little bugaboos. But I had to have it all one color, and it might as well all be white. Of course, that polar gray helped quite a bit. Alleviating the amount of paint that needs to go on it to make it all one color. Now, I was asked by Tom Morris today to give a rundown on the materials. Well, materials, I use all Randolph products. And try to stick with their thinner. That way you don't have any compatibility issues. Now, I know some guys want to use cheap thinner, but cheap thinner just, why would you spend all the time in a paint job only to ruin it by trying to save 10 bucks. Yeah, thinner's expensive. It's $50 a gallon. And each airplane's going to take about a gallon. And each roll of tape is 10 bucks a roll, the fine line. And depending on the complexity of your paint job, you know, it's definitely not cheap to finish these, to do a good job. So we'll go ahead and post this up. I hope you guys are learning something. I can see another spot right there. I want to get all the spots taken care of. This right here really bothers me. I don't understand what happened. Why it would. It looks like it just split, but you know, I didn't sand it there or anything. And we'll just tear a piece of silk span and put some clear dope on it and sand and fix that before we get started. But I have to wait until it's hard, because it's very soft right now and it kind of loads the paper up. Should be nice though. So we'll see you tomorrow. I'll load this up tonight. And any questions, just leave it on the forum or ask me a question on the YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. Here's the thinner that I use, Randolph Butyrate 9703. You can try to buy things in a gallon because it's much cheaper. It's $50 a gallon, a little over 50. This is a gallon of white. I got 2 gallons of clear down there. We have lots of quarts of colors, but each one of those quarts is $27 to $30 per quart, which is still quite a bit cheaper than Sig or Brodak or whatever. So I'll load it up and we'll talk to you later. Till the next video, tight line. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Well, while I'm on the phone today, somebody had watched my Monado build and they couldn't believe the amount of sanding that I did on that airplane. And they asked me, how many times do I sand an airplane? I sand an airplane whatever it takes. I was going to load up this video, but I didn't. Making these videos is harder than you think. It takes up more time than actually building the airplane. But the dope is from yesterday is drying up the sand. So I'm going over everything. 320. Sanding all the rough spots out. This is probably the 20th time I sanded this airplane. But then again, it takes what it takes. There's no set rule on how many times I'm going to sand an airplane. I'm going to sand it until it's ready to go. And this one, trying to be even more. Oh, hopefully I didn't dent it or hurt it. This one trying to be more perfect than the other one. It's going to take a little more. So I'm going to have to go to the auto parts store again and buy some more 1000 grit. This is just the base coat, but I feel if I don't get this base coat right, you know, the finished product is not going to be right. So go all over the whole airplane and inspect it. this white back here again because it's green. But I do want it absolutely smooth. Now 320 is really too aggressive. But it's all I have right now. I have to run over and get some more 400, 600, 1200 paper. Sandpaper is just so expensive. It's $1 a sheet. I'm basically finishing 2 airplanes at the same time. This one and the Max B. This one's a little farther along and has the base on it. And the Max B is not going to be quite as nice a job because I didn't build it. And I can't rebuild the airplane. Painting does not cover up woodwork mistakes. So when you read my tagline about the finish starts with the first piece of wood cut, that really is the truth. See, when I come back to recoat any of these places, I'll take that half pint of white dope I started with, and I still have this much in the bottom of the can. I'll fill this, double it up, and thin it again. And what that does is it locks everything down. The thinner bite between coats. I see so many guys on the forum there. They're having a problem with tape pulling up the paint. Well, it's pulling up the paint because you didn't use enough thinner. We're getting close to our maximum allowed finish weight. So I have to be very careful with what I put on it from here on out. But I thought I'd let the camera run a little bit. Kind of just talk and sand. Now, when I was in Eugene, Oregon, I was told by one guy there, won't mention his name, he's on the forum there, that you could thin a quart of dope and spray a complete quart of dope on an airplane and only gain an ounce. I'd sure like to know how to do that. Quart of clear. Because I gotta tell you, the airplanes are beautiful. This is all yellow here. When I come back with the white, we'll only be hitting the spots that are going to be remaining white. There's no sense to load the dope up. So white scallop from here, it travels past the fuselage, dumps out this way with checkerboards in it. The Zen of Sanding. I started a story today after seeing Bob Hunt's Caprice story. I'm sure that I'm not the eloquent writer that Bob is, but I'll send it to Bob. Maybe he'll edit it up for me and check the spelling and all that. Hopefully it gives you an insight to why I do what I do. Something that was instilled at a very young age. Boy, it'd be so nice if I could just lay the paint down there and not worry about weight. This will probably sit a day or so. In this state. I'll be working on this, doctoring the boogers up. And there ain't many of them, but much paint on it, that's for sure. Takes a couple strokes and it's right through the white. That's okay. I'll take this to Brodak next year. I don't want somebody going, ooh, what about that spot? You want to see a good finisher? Joe Adamushko. You got to look at his airplanes. Boy, they're beautiful. I looked at his last one at Brodak this year and could not find any mistakes. He said there was mistakes on it, but of course that's probably true with anybody. You know where the mistakes are. Nobody else can see them. But I certainly didn't see any. And I was looking hard. His Spitfire is beautiful. I was going to build one of those, but it's too big. I think this is size airplane here is right on the outside for me. His size. I'm a fairly small guy. Wind picks up, these things are like sails. About 20 years ago, we were out at Booter Park, and Ron O'Toole had an SB-11 that weighed about 80 ounces. And I had asked if I could fly it. It was a very windy day. And I took off, and this thing went lean. And I was zipping around like a combat plane with this 80-ounce airplane in the wind. I thought the lines were going to break. It was so heavy on the line. And I kept motioning for Ron to come here, get the airplane. He wouldn't do it. Everybody was just laughing at me. So that's my experiences with heavy airplanes. I just thought it was comical today when they asked me, how many times do you sand an airplane? I got no idea. Sand it, whatever it takes. I'd like to see this thing drop another ounce off. I'll give you an exact finished cost as far as weight goes on this, because I started with a certain amount. I think I'm at 4.5 ounces now of finish on the airplane. And it will pick up fast. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of sanding and sanding. But end result's worth it to me. Will it be perfect? Probably not, but we're going to give it a heck of a try. I went over the tip block too. How many times do you sand it? No clue. Remember, this was the molding of the canopy was quite the ordeal too. Gotta get that to look nice. For those of you who don't want to watch all this sanding, I'll put marks in the video to where you can skip to. Because this is boring. Okay, let me give you a weight on finish costs so far. This is only the paint. I know that the white coat of white was 1 ounce. But I'll give you the finish cost on all the substrate and all the dope stuff. I know what the pilot weighed and the canopy. We have to deduct that on this weight here. Minus an ounce and a half, 35.15, 5 ounces so far. 5 ounces for the primer, the white base, the covering. I only have maximum 4 ounces to go to get it all finished up. If it were finished and ready to fly right now, it would be 56 ounces, the way it sits, with no clear, no trim, so we're going to be at 60. Not what I wanted, but that's what I got. I think the most important part here now is to sand out any of the imperfections. Because we want just a thin, the top coats of paint have to be ever so thin including the clear. Clear will get sanded between coats. Now I've narrowed down my adjustable lead out area because I've already built this airplane in 2 other configurations, and the lead outs are always at the farthest points forward. So instead of having a big long lead out slider, I only have a lead out of adjustment of about 1.25 inches. And if I have to do something else, which on no airplane have I ever, I still have room that I could open up some holes and move them back, but I don't see that happening. That is the nice thing about building similar designs over and over again. You kind of got an idea where everything is. Like in the old days, they didn't have adjustable wingtip weight. They just knew to build in and outs, or 3/4 or whatever. I've sanded that out pretty good now. Hit it with a bit of primer. Sanded out nice. I'm not sure whether people are going to inspect it that close, but I want to be on the front row this year. I really want to win that concourse show. It's very hard to do. First, you have to have the approval of all the appearance judges, and you got to be up in that front row, the first 1 or 2 airplanes. So it's important that you get up there on the front row first 1 or 2 airplanes, and then you got to have everybody to like you, which is not the case, in my case. But I'll guarantee when I'm done with this, you will not have seen another one like it. Might steal some of Tim Westcott's ideas. That man could paint. However, Tim, I know you're watching this. Got to get away from automotive paint. Too heavy. Easy, but too heavy. Okay, let's today on the phone I was talking to a gentleman, and he said, well, I've never used more than one can of primer on an airplane. One can of primer won't even do the wheel pants. That can would be gone just in spotting. It takes 4 or 5 cans per airplane. It's just how it is. If you want to do my method. And it's convenient because you don't have to start the compressor. Mix up the dough. But it is a little more expensive. Now, while the purple covers really well, you got to remember the dark colors show the mistakes more than the light color. So if I was going to paint this black, it would have to absolutely be perfect everywhere. And one of these days I'll paint a black airplane. That Newman did a Stuka about 94 that was black. It was nice. Very hard to do. Now if you listen there, you can hear the noise change. Going from smooth to overspray. That overspray has to get off of there. You gotta listen too. What's it sound like? Now let's check the cowl. Take that off. I painted it with it on, and that's not a good idea. But I knew I wasn't going to be loading any dope up. I just was going to dust it on, so it shouldn't have stuck. But it's definitely not a good idea to paint things. Yeah, it's stuck. There we go. Yeah, it's not a real good idea. But we cheated it. So on the next coat, we'll spray the inside of this, spray the inside of the cowl, and see it's nice and smooth. The cowl is going to be finished just as nice inside as it is outside. Is that necessary? No. But if I want to build a top model, I got to go to the extra length. Still sanding. Sanding with inane commentary. Let's hope we can get these gear doors out without a big problem. I guess I better try. As I said, this is not a wise idea to paint things together. Looks like I escaped with that one. Yeah, I can get that out. Might bend up the landing gear degree too. Kind of got to get one step closer every day. But here again, I'm not in a rush. I would like to take this down to the contest here this month. Show everybody what I got, and I won't do it if it looks ragged. So, what is your time worth? Got a spot right there I'm going to address. It's on the underside. Nobody would ever notice it. If I was shooting urethane, I would never fix it because it would hide in the clear. But because we're shooting dope or lacquers, every little flaw will show. So let's see if I can zoom in. There's a line right here where I join this upright to the sheeting. It's ever so slight, but it is there. So, let's sand it out. And when the stop is when that line starts to turn. When it goes flat with the rest of the surrounding area, that's when you stop, almost. I'm going to have to shoot white on that, and I'll have to doctor all the shoot white where is going to show before I back mask. Okay, that's that spot, and there's one little spot right here. It's going to be time to get out another ream of 320. That looks pretty good. Let that dry up a minute and then come back and sand it. Remember what I said about these chines here, or whatever you call them, these big fillers. Hardest part is to get it to transition without seeing the line. And that takes many sand outs. I see everybody's missing our resident circus clown. Shug, hurry back. I hope I get to meet him one day. Maybe he'll go to Brodak. Sounds like he can be a barrel of fun. Remember what I told you, use your hands. Your hands can see better than your eyes. Talking to Gene Martin about his 20-point build. You know, when is enough as far as the finish goes? How much can you really put into it? You know, you can put a lot into it, that's for sure. Only limited. The paint job is never finished. It's abandoned. I think that's Randy Powell's statement. I kind of agree with him. You notice what I did there is there was a line. You can kind of see the line still. I stopped when it all went flat. That's 2,000 grit. That's no good. We'll be sanding forever. There's some 600. Primer still ain't dry. And we're sanding the primer and it still ain't really dry, but it'll be alright. Get my fingerprint out of it like a dummy. Those flat tips real good, so that's good. pretty high humidity. You can't really paint today. I didn't buy any retarder yet. Deep scratches up there. You listen, you can hear the sound. It changes tone when it becomes absolutely smooth. You can hear it digging over here, and then it's smooth over here. Well, you got to get it to sound the same all over. I know. You guys probably think I'm a wacko. But you can sure see the difference. This feels just like plastic. I'll go ahead and hit it with a little primer, let it dry. Disappear 100%. Anyway, you're probably pretty bored with watching me sand. But I've had requests for sanding videos. And if I could get paid for views for sanding videos, I sand. I'm going to cut this camera and I will sand another 2 or 3 hours before it's ready for the next step. So we'll be back when I get to that next step. And I still have this other airplane . And it's coming along pretty well. I still have this other airplane to touch up and sand again. So I think we're on about 6 or 7 sand outs on this one. How many does it take? It takes what it takes. If you're not a sander of airplanes, this is the wrong hobby. You have to strive to be better than the last one. I would like to get that Maxby in white this week. That way I can have it kind of all cut up. I'm not mixing back and forth. So anyway, I'm going to cut the camera. I'll be back in a few hours after I'm done sanding for this time around. And we'll go from there. So